This is Hot Edition. We're live from Manusabata Desawe Kanda, also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. Also streaming live on Facebook at 3FM927, also on X. I am Alfred Ocansey this evening here on Hot Edition. Former Deputy Executive Director of the National Service Scheme, Gifty Owari Mensah, to report herself for questioning at the National Investigations Bureau following her return to the country. We'll hear from the minority leader on the next line of action for them. Stay with us here on Hot Edition. Also, Speaker of Parliament orders immediate investigation to unravel the identity of the Member of Parliament responsible for describing Clotte Member of Parliament, Dr. Zaneto Rawlings, as the daughter of a murderer. Speaker advises the culprit to own up before it is too late. We've got details for you. Also in Parliament, the minority is demanding apology from the Finance Minister over unfulfilled promise to uncap NHIS funding. We've got details of that for you. Plus, the happenings at the Economic Dialogue, which wraps up in the next few minutes at the Accra International Conference Center. All these plus the latest in business and sports over the next 1 hour, 30 minutes here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We're also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond, and on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. For now, let's settle for a summary of the news. Grace Amwajiman is here.
Alfred, let's begin from here. Organized labor is calling on government to urgently implement 60 to 70% of the recommendations from the just ended economic dialogue. According to the labor leaders, they will monitor closely the implementation process to ensure that no tax burdens are introduced, as they fear higher taxes could worsen the already difficult conditions faced by Ghanaian workers. Also, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, has inaugurated a satellite passport office at the Hajj village in Accra to ease the passport acquisition process for pilgrims. He assured that the office will issue passports within 3 days of application at no extra cost. And the voter diaspora caucus staged a demonstration today demanding an apology from an MP who referred to Zaneto Rawlings as a daughter of a murderer during a February 4, 2025 parliamentary debate. The protest began at Rawlings' residence and ended at Parliament House, where they submitted a petition. The remark made during discussions on J.B. Dankwa's death anniversary sparked widespread condemnation, leading to the Speaker setting up a committee to investigate the situation. And before we go, security forces were deployed to Daboya after clashes between residents and Savannah College of Education students over the locking of classrooms. The students protesting alleged deception about the school's public status, locked lecture halls and boycotted classes on March 1. Tensions escalated when residents resisted, prompting police intervention. That's it for the summaries, Alfred.
Grace, thank you. That's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Hot Edition. We're also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and on W93.5 in Y and beyond. On the matter of the violence in Daboya, let's bring you some information coming through from the Interior Ministry right now, because the Interior Minister Mohammed Muntaka Mubarak has renewed the curfew imposed on the Boko municipality and its surrounding areas following recommendations from the Upper East Regional Security Council. The renewed curfew takes effect from Monday, March 3, 2025. The curfew hours remain from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. and will be subject to review or renewal after a week. Additionally, the minister reiterated the ban on carrying offensive weapons, arms or ammunition within the affected areas, warning that anyone found in violation will be arrested and prosecuted. Boko has been under curfew since November 2021 due to ongoing chieftaincy conflicts that have resulted in numerous casualties. We have details of that as well on 3news.com. Let's get into some more stories here on Hot Edition. A former Deputy Executive Director of the National Service Authority, Gifty Owari Mensah, has returned to Ghana after weeks outside the country. However, Madam Gifty Owari was not immediately arrested at the Kotoka International Airport. Media reports suggested operatives of the National Intelligence Bureau were planning to whisk her away immediately she arrived in the country. The former deputy boss of the National Service Authority is amongst top former officials of the authority under investigation in connection with allegations that thousands of ghost names were used to siphon millions of Ghana cedis from the state coffers through a payroll fraud. My colleague Godwin Asediba was at the airport during Gifty Owari's arrival and has come through with this report.
Former Deputy Executive Director of the National Service Scheme, Gifty Owari Mensah, arrived at the Kotoka International Airport today, March 4, 2025, at approximately 12:30 p.m.
I'm aware that Gifty arrived this afternoon. I've been in touch with her. She's here in Ghana. She arrived this afternoon.
Her return to Ghana marks the end of a period of speculations about her whereabouts following allegations of her involvement in the NSS payroll scandal, which reportedly involved the insertion of over 81,885 ghost names into the scheme's database, costing the state millions of Ghana cedis monthly. Minority leader Alexander Fenyo-Makin has indeed confirmed that Owari Mensah will make herself available for questioning by the National Investigation Bureau, which is the NIB, regarding her tenure at the NSS office where she oversaw administration and finance there.
She did not run away from the jurisdiction. She had traveled out. She traveled out freely. She came back to Ghana. She's entered the country freely. However, the NIB officials reached out to me and that they needed her. They have also reached out to her lawyers, and the lawyers have been in that discussions with them. Today she's in town. She will make herself available. Whatever that they have to ask of her, I'm sure she'll be able to deal with it. And I'm saying that nobody has harassed her as far as I'm concerned, because I've been following, engaging her, and so far nobody has harassed her.
This follows reports indicating that NIB officers had planned to arrest her upon arrival for interrogation as part of their probe into the alleged payroll fraud. However, key figures from the New Patriotic Party and whose administrations she served are reportedly mobilizing to accompany her to the NIB officers, suggesting political support amid the unfolding investigation.
MPP is not against accountability, me inclusive. We've been in public service. We are out of office. Obviously, if the new government needs former officials to explain certain matters in one way or the other, it's within their right to pursue such. And if it means investigating, there should be no problem. What is important is to follow that due process. And once due process is being followed, why not? I mean, after all, once you get into public office, you must all be mindful that...
Did it take a lot of convincing to bring her back into the country?
No, the person was not running out. She was on holiday. You know, this era of social media.
As you may have witnessed events happening at the Kotoka International Airport, the situation remains fluid. Owari Mensah's next steps, presenting herself to the NIB, will likely determine the trajectory of the investigation and her public standing. Authorities have yet to confirm the exact timing of her questioning, but her arrival signals a critical development in the ongoing effort to unravel the NSS payroll scandal.
As Godwin Asediba there, giving us details of what happened at the airport. You had Alexander Fenyo-Makin, the minority leader, talking about the fact that the NPP is not against accountability and they're going to make her available as and when the National Intelligence Bureau calls on her to answer questions, as we've seen in the previous instances. If you recall, during the State of the Nation address presentation, the President, John Dramani Mahama, in fact, ordered the NIB to look into how some 81,885 suspected ghost names found their way onto the payroll of the National Service Authority. So what exactly did the President put out there an expectation of the National Service Authority investigation? Let's recall that to put the issues in perspective right now.
She did not run away from the jurisdiction. She had traveled out. She traveled out freely. She came back to Ghana. She's entered the country freely. However, the NIB officials reached out to me and that they needed her. They have also reached out to her lawyers, and the lawyers have been in that discussions with them. Today, she's in town. She will make herself available. Whatever that they have to ask of her, I'm sure she'll be able to deal with it. And I'm saying that nobody has harassed her as far as I'm concerned, because I've been following, engaging her, and so far, nobody has harassed her. MPP is not against accountability, me inclusive. We've been in public service. We are out of office. Obviously, if the new government needs former officials to explain certain matters in one way or the other, it's within their right to pursue such. And if it means investigating, there should be no problem. What is important is to follow that due process. And once due process is being followed, why not? I mean, after all, once you get into public office, you must all be mindful that...
Did it take a lot of convincing to bring her back into the country?
No, the person was not running out. She was on holiday. You know, this era of social media.
Well, so that's Alexander Venue Market. Let's bring in Martin Pebo, is private legal practitioner and also a member of the Operation Recover All Load Preparatory Team. They've handed over their report to the President. And also Richard Komado is a security expert and consultant, a former NIB operative. Gentlemen, good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Hot Edition.
Yeah, good evening, sir. Thank you.
Great. And I'll start off with you, Martin Pebo, because this is one of the cases that was recorded by your team, the oral team, even before the NIB started their investigations into it. Hearing that Gifty Owari-Mensah has arrived, we understand she was not arrested or picked up by the NIB officials at the airport, but in the coming days we might hear an invitation extended to her. How does all of this strike you?
Yeah, it's a writing by the NIB, because so far, from what we are hearing, definitely Gifty Owari should go and answer specifically the matter of the good name. You hear Felix Fusu-Kwachi, or is it that Felix Kwachi Ofusu, right? Sorry for mixing up his name, Kwachi Ofusu, saying that the numbers have dwindled by half. That's the numbers that, while Gifty Owari and co were in office, they presented as national service personnel has dropped to about half. They have mentioned about 81,000 and something, right? Those numbers have gone off. So she needs to answer. She needs to answer. It's very, very critical that she does. And you know, the Fourth Estate did a good job at that. And they did a lot of the checking. And so I would be very surprised that she should not be asked to answer. She definitely has to. And I hear even in opposition to that was they were in opposition. She wants to protect and try to impugn his credibility. And I'm like, oh, so you want to impugn somebody's credibility? And then you go and get yourself ensnared in such allegations. So let's see. Let's Gifty Owari do an answer. Especially as you remember, this was the first time. I remember the scholarship thing. she took scholarship, right? That one too brought a lot of brouhaha. The government officer, she was taking a scholarship at a time that the citizenry felt like she was privileged, so she should not take that scholarship. Yet she took it, and now there is this second case of good names on the National Service payroll. So let's see how it goes.
I see, and you hear Alexander Vanyawakin talk about due process and the fact that due process must be followed in the process of arresting her or questioning for that matter. And so is it one that you would also support?
Oh, absolutely. Being a lawyer, I have no option but to support that due process be adhered to, because we all need due process. Otherwise, there will be chaos. So definitely, and let's also even forget that I'm the same person who took this case of table number 2 versus Attorney General number 2 to court. That's an unbailable offenses, right, case. So I've always fought for bail. I mean, when she goes to NIB, I don't subscribe to them detaining her unnecessarily. You see, I subscribe to grant the accused bail or suspect bail. You see, she was outside the country and she has decided to come in. So, prima facie, this was about who wants to abscond. Because if she wanted to, would she come in? So, I would appeal that NIB, they should look at it. If she deserves bail, they should. If she doesn't, they have to go to court if they need to keep her beyond 48 hours. But they shouldn't unnecessarily do it. No, we should get to the substance of the matter. This one, from what we are hearing so far, looks like an open and shut case. An open and shut case. In law, when we say a case is open and shut, it looks easy. Because these ones, they were supposed to be a huge number of national service personnel. And then when they left office, the number has dropped. That's the most recent evidence. And even before then, the fourth estate had shown how the numbers have been ballooned. So I'm hoping that this does not take that long. This does not take that long. So I don't think that there's somebody that should be keeping in custody for that long. No, go drill down, take the case to court, let's get in there, and then we would see where the acts would fall. Yes.
So you hold the view that it's an open and shut case. Others who also make the point that, I mean, it would not be that easy to establish guilt. And you know this, that in prosecution, it's not an easy path establishing guilt beyond reasonable doubt. And so, yes, the evidence you received at the oral level may show a certain level of guilt. But then again, as you indicated, if you drill down, would that also not present another issue or challenge for the prosecutors to look at? Because if there was any wrongdoing, as I've always indicated to you, counsel, whoever is doing it would not leave their path unclean. They would also want to cover their path, is it not?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. So from the aura, as I said, we weren't doing investigations. We received the complaints, and the complaints were basically like what everybody would know in the public. What Fourth Estate did was what they brought to us. So it's not like there's extra evidence we dealt with, but we had to put it together for His Excellency and the Attorney General. So that's, what do you call it? That's, as far as I know, that's what happened, okay? Now, it's for her to go to NIB and show that all that information that the Fourth Estate showed is false. And especially as right now, the key thing is that when President Mahama took office, from what we have been told, when they asked the National Service Secretariat to bring the list of National Service persons, Kwasi is saying that the numbers have dropped by about 81,000 and over. That's the key thing Kwasi Fusu is saying, that the numbers have dropped by 81,000 and some change. So the thing is that what has suddenly changed? What has suddenly changed? You see, so let us go and answer. Because I thought that if there was nothing untoward, and they should have been giving the answers quickly. You don't wait, you see, for this matter to fester in the public domain. You know, the way the mind works. If you leave too much time for people to go on with the one-sided allegations, later on, it's difficult unless it comes out crystal clear, black and white. People would say that, no, your answer doesn't add up. Because I'm wondering, if the numbers dropped, even from where she was, why couldn't she write on Facebook or write an open letter to the government that, no, you got it wrong? You have to respond immediately. Facebook, that's why now we have technology. So you hit back immediately. But this matter that the numbers have dropped significantly, it didn't start today. As far as I'm aware, it's been at least about 3 weeks now. Yes, this matter that when the president asks, so the finance minister asked that National Service Secretary they should bring their list for payment, etc. They said the number had dropped by that 81,000. So they want 81,000 and change that we are here. It didn't start today. Do you remember the exact date we went to the presidency to present the oral report? It was a Monday. Then yes, that was the day I first heard it. So it's been around for long. So I wonder why she's kept quiet. If she did that, when you are clean, when you are absolutely clean, you don't even need a lawyer. Sometimes they will tell you that don't speak without a lawyer. Yes, that one applies when maybe you dealt with the matter in some way and so you can incriminate yourself. But if you are as clean as a whistle, if you never did anything about padding the numbers, putting in good names, you don't need a lawyer to defend you. It will all just be clean. So I'm really curious as to, not just curious, and a bit concerned. I'm concerned that is why she would allow this thing to go on for at least 3 weeks now and not say anything.
Council, we'll see how the coming days will look like on this. Appreciate you for this. Thank you, as always. Come to you, Mr. Commodore, and then from the security perspective, we hear that the NIB is yet to take any action, even though this person they declared as wanted or inviting her for questioning has arrived in the country. How's the procedure like? What should we be expecting in the coming days?
Okay, so once investigation notice is served on subjects or suspects in crime investigation, particularly those in absentia, the investigation institution and officers have three main options among many others. The first one is to arrest the subject or the suspect on the point of entry, at any point of entry at all, in a jurisdiction which the crime is being investigated. The second one is that the subject of investigation or the suspect, in this case, Madam has not been charged yet, so we refer to her as a subject of crime investigation. She will voluntarily have to report herself to the investigators assigned with the responsibility of investigating the case. That's number two. Number three is for the investigation authority to invoke protocols with their international parties to arrest the suspect or the subject of investigation and deport her or extradite her to the country of jurisdiction where her interest is being wanted. In this case, she has arrived. So once she has arrived, they did not arrest her at the airport. What is likely to happen, we should not be surprised if she's arrested tonight or tomorrow morning. And we should also not be surprised if she voluntarily walk in with a lawyer or independently to meet the investigators to address the many of the questions they will want her to answer. So this is where we are now, Alfred.
I see. But then again, also, like Sana Penyamakin talks about the due process being followed. In the matter of due process, what is the modus operandi in the National Intelligence Bureau or the BNI that you are part of?
So let's take it. In terms of due process, when you come under crime investigation, whether you have been charged when you are charged, you are suspect. When you are not charged, we refer to you as a subject of investigation. In this case, Madam Gifty is wanted for some questions to be answered in relation to national service crime. She has arrived in the country, so due process is that arrest her when she has arrived, or ask her to voluntarily report herself at the investigation authority unit. That is the BNI. And that is what it is. So if they do not arrest her at the airport and they do not arrest her tonight or tomorrow morning, then it presupposes that she will voluntarily report herself to the BNI officers at any of the units that will want her to do so. If she fails to do so, then they will go for arrest. And that arrest might include search warrant to search a premises and many of those things they will want to do.
There is that bit about the questioning process as well. We've seen some of them who have already been questioned as well. Now, you know how all of this works. I mean, as you've indicated, yes, it's going to have to attend to the invitation. But how is this going to be like, especially because some portions of this investigation and this story is already public?
Okay, so the investigators assigned to the job must have done their background checks by now. They must have gathered the evidence they want to question her about. They will not interrogate her, but they will ask her a amount of questions to answer. Now, this is what we do. When we are asking you those questions, we call it we ask questions to elicit response. And in eliciting the response, there are three things we are looking out for. Number one, we are looking out to detect the deception. And number two, we are looking out to detect inconsistency and discretion. And number three, we want to see whether we gain compliance. So based on what the BNI have, which might not be aware, or based on what the Attorney General might have by now, because the oral docket has been sent to the Attorney General. And remember, the Attorney General said, we will not put anybody to court when we do not have the evidence. If we are going by that as part of the due diligence procedure, then from the BNI to the Attorney General, with Madame Gifty in their presence or in their hands, they will ask their questions, specific questions into specific areas pertaining to direct involvement in some of the decisions that was taken as the head of the National Service Secretariat, or some passive role she must have played which led to the fraud we are talking about. And so these are the two areas they will ask her those questions. I don't know how many questions they are going to ask her. It depends on the investigator and how prepared the investigator is. And again, how willing she is to answer the questions appropriately. If you do not answer the questions appropriately, it may take a little bit of time. But if you do it appropriately, then you shorten the questioning period and you may be made to go. If they are putting you behind bars, then they will trigger the next level, which is the protocol, by going to court to say they need you for a number of days. And remember, you have the 48 hours to work with as a standard rule in many of these crime cases we talk about, which lawyer Martin Kwebo has emphasized. So after this is where we are now. And that is exactly what is going to happen. If her right has been abused, then again, you go to court and say my right has been abused. But so far, nothing of that has happened. I always hear people to say interrogation. No, the BNI will question you in related matters into specific areas and to generalized areas. The police will interview you. And that is the true difference between what the BNI does and what the police does.
Fantastic. I appreciate you for this. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Alfred.
Richard Commodore is a security analyst sharing his thoughts with us. Let's hear from the President, John Dramani Mahama, specifically on the matter of the Operation Recover or Loot, and then also what he intends to do with the issue of the National Service Scheme and the investigations in there.
9. We will introduce short sustainability in the scholarship scheme, which has streamlined the award process to ensure the program. This initiative will create, track, and measure not only deserving youth benefit from the system, not that only youth deserving youth benefit from the system. We shall introduce increased transparency. Mr. Speaker, as part of our Operation Recover All the Loot policy, ORA, I've already tasked our investigative bodies to bring the culprits of the National Service Ghost Name scandal to justice. Such brazen theft of public funds must not go unpunished. It is estimated that the criminal addition of some more than 80,000 ghost names could have yielded the suspects over 50 million Ghana cedis every month. Unfortunately, some of these suspects are believed to have absconded from the country already. I have directed that they be declared wanted and their assets traced and frozen until investigations are completed.
As the president there. And now, the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Sumana Kingsford-Babin, has directed the member who defamed the Korle-Klottey Member of Parliament, Dr. Zaneto Ajiman-Rawlings, to turn himself in and accept responsibility or risk being sanctioned for the offensive remarks after the ongoing investigations. The off-record comment, which surfaced during parliamentary proceedings last month, drew widespread condemnation, with groups petitioning the Speaker for action to be taken. In an official statement, the Speaker of Parliament says he had ordered an immediate investigation into the act, citing possible sanctions the said MP will face. Alban Bagwin condemned the comment as reckless and unjustified, adding that members of Parliament should live above reproach and live up to expectation. The Speaker's comments followed a petition by a group of voter diasporans. Take a listen to the Speaker earlier today.
Course of the parliamentary proceedings on 4th February this year, an honorable member of this House was subjected to an unwarranted, unjustified, and deeply offensive, reckless remark, or being referred to as, for want of a better way to convey the remark, quote, the daughter of a murderer. I apologize for having to even repeat it. The unsavory remark was uttered off microphone from a seat of the minority side of the House in reference to the honorable member. I extend my deepest apologies to Honorable Dr. Zaneto Ajiman-Rawlings, Member of Parliament for Klottey-Korle, Her Excellency Nana Konadu Ajiman-Rawlings, the former First Lady of Ghana and widow of our late illustrious President, the family, the chiefs, and all the good people of Anglo Duko and Anglo land. No one serving their country should have to endure such indignity. Consequently, a formal investigation has been initiated to determine the identity of the member who made the comment. Subsequent to which, in line with standing orders 218 and 219, the Committee of Privileges and Immunities and Ethics and Standards shall be called upon to consider the referral and report to the House. The spirit of honor, accountability, and decorum, I advise the member responsible for the remark to, within a week, choose the path of honesty, mea culpa, and opt for a plea bargain. Taking this step would demonstrate good faith and respect for parliamentary dignity, rather than awaiting the outcome of the ongoing investigation, which will ultimately uncover the member who made the statement.
As a Speaker of Parliament there, now the Majority Leader, Mama Yarga, and the Minority Chief Whip, Frank Anodompre, reacted to the Speaker's ruling.
Mr. Speaker, we are indeed very grateful to you. And Mr. Speaker, I will join you to urge colleagues to be decorous in the way that we conduct ourselves in the chamber. I believe that the investigation that you have launched will definitely unravel the individual who engaged in such a reckless comment. And I also urge whoever it is to own up as directed by the Speaker. And I want to assure this House that when we ultimately establish the identity of that person, the full weight of this side of the House will stand firmly behind the Privileges Committee when they seek to exact the highest penalty.
I'm hoping we can bring this matter to a close, but I'm taken aback that mine has taken close to 3 weeks. The Speaker had assured that we will engage the two of us. I am reliably informed the lady was invited. I was not invited. Speaker, I'm just bringing this to your attention. But I will leave the decision in your bosom. And you are experienced and clothed with the powers to guide this House in all matters. So I will just bring this to your notice and hoping that we can bring finality to it.
So that's the Minority Leader, Chief Whip, Frank Anodompre there. Also, you heard earlier the Majority Leader, Mahama Yarega, Boko Central Member of Parliament. Let's so go straight to Parliament because Parliament is still sitting as we speak. And Christian Yale is a parliamentary affairs correspondent connecting with that. Christian, what's the latest in Parliament as we speak?
As we speak, the House has been suspended for 30 minutes. That 30 minutes is past, and it has not been reconvened yet. The whole issue is that we know the commencement of the debate on the President's maiden State of the Nation address started today, and so after the Deputy Majority Leader, Kweku Rekete moved the motion, and after which it was, seconded by the former Defense Minister, Dominic Nechiwu. Another MP spoke, but after that, the minority members rose to their feet and began to register their displeasure, and essentially their concern is that it cannot be said that the number of MPs, I beg your pardon, the number of MPs to be allowed from each side to debate, the majority should have more numbers than their side as the minority. And so essentially, they are calling for equal number of contributors from both sides of the House, i.e., if 5 members are contributing from the majority side, then it means that 5 members should also contribute from the minority side. That was not agreed by the majority side, who believes that they have more numbers, about 187 as against 88 on the minority side. So it would be unfair for them to request for equal number of contributors. And so that resulted in some exchanges and heated debate from both sides that resulted in the suspension of sitting. The presiding speaker, the deputy speaker, in the person of Bernard Ahiafo had, actually made a case, at least for the purpose of today, for 5 members from each side of the House to engage in the debate. But that again was resisted or was opposed by the majority. Now, the whole issue is that when the business committee sat last week to plan the order of business for this week, that came up and a vote actually was made, or there was a vote on the issue. And we know from the briefing we have received that the minority members on the business committee abstained from that vote, essentially making the same point that they want equal representation because in the past, in the previous parliament, there was equal number of contributors from both sides of the House to engage in any form of debate, even including a delegation that Parliament sends sometimes to, engage in other businesses outside the jurisdiction, and which is the case that the Minority Leader, Alexander Fiormakin, makes and makes strongly that until they get that equal representation, they are not going to partake or allow the debate on the state of the national address to continue. And so they are still on that suspension. We are waiting to see what the outcome is going to be, because the Deputy Speaker, Bernard Ahiafo, had called for a consensus building and has asked the leaders of both sides to go into conclave to meet and discuss this and come back to the House for a further action.
On the matter of that derogatory comment that was made by an unidentified or yet to be identified member of Parliament against Dr. Zanetto Rawlings, the Speaker was quite clear in his words. Apart from the majority and the minority Chief Whip who spoke after the Speaker presented this statement, what has the reaction been in Parliament?
Generally, it has been a welcoming reaction from the majority side, who believe that such a comment was as reckless as it could be and was derogatory and highly offensive. So for their side, yes. But what we know from the minority side was that there was that attempt to equalize the situation. And in the words of the minority chief whip, Frank Anodompre, he made a case that on that particular day, when that happened, members on the majority side also used some derogatory remarks against some former statesmen, including J.B. Dankwa, the deceased. And so if that is the case, that the Speaker is going to call for an investigation which would result in possible sanctions, then other members from the majority side should equally be added to this action or demand, so that there will be that equal treatment. That was clearly condemned by the majority side, who made it seem that the minority is only trying to equalize issues and that there is no way they can compare mangoes with oranges. And so basically just the two of them, the majority leader Mahama Yarga and also the minority chief whip Frank Anodompre, on record reacted to the Speaker's ruling, that in the background, off record, off the mic, a lot of the MPs generally had a reaction. And you know that group, the Voter Youth Caucus, that earlier petitioned the Speaker, were actually present in the House at the public gallery, and you could see the expressions, one of their faces, that they were not satisfied when the minority tried to equalize the situation and said that other members on the majority side also made some derogatory remarks in that regard. And so if there is any cause for action, then they should not be sidelined or they should not be taken off the hook.
And any indication of the period for this or the duration for this investigation into this matter?
From the Speaker, it is to be as urgent as possible, and so the matter has been referred to the Privileges Committee and other committees that are relevant to this matter, but no specific timelines have been provided on this. But the Speaker actually makes the case that a lot of work has already been done on this issue, and that was in a way to give some assurances to the Voter Youth Caucus that petitioned him that it is not as if Parliament has gone quiet on the case altogether, but over the period, a lot of work has happened already. And so it's based on that he even encouraged the said MP, who knows himself, to own up and show some responsibility so that it could fast-track all of this without waiting for that full-haul investigation to be conducted into the issue.
Chris, appreciate you for this. He's a man on the ground in Parliament, a parliamentary affairs correspondent, Christian Yale there. So live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesme 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W93.5 in Y and beyond. Let's cross over to the Accra International Conference Center, where the closing ceremony of the National Economic Dialogue 2025 is taking place. The Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Johnson Esiama, is speaking about the monetary policy and how that is also going to be shaped up in the next 4 years as Governor of the Central Bank. Also, Dr. Nimoy Thompson is there as well. He heads the National Development Planning Commission, and also talking about the plan for the next phase of Ghana's development?
That kind of coordination with the fiscal authorities, and we'll be doing that. I'll be speaking with the Minister of Finance regularly, and we will try to achieve that balance going forward. We'll be transparent. But let me end with just one more point on the area of financial sector stability. We have the financial sector strengthening strategy, going on under the fund program, and we are going to continue with that. However, an elephant in the room has to do with the high levels of NPLs, what we call non-performing loans. To give you the seriousness of that, we have local banks and we have foreign banks. There's a local bank whose NPL is about 81%. What it means is that every 100 Ghana cedis they lend, they are not able to collect 81 cedis back. Another local bank has about 62%. Now, the highest for the foreign banks is about 21%, I guess. So these numbers tell you that we need to address the NPL issue. You cannot blame the banks entirely because a lot of it has to do with the domestic debt exchange, which was as a result of, not as a result of, anything that the banks did. But it's a problem we have to contend with. Because remember, that also explains why lending rates are high.
Okay.
It is not pleasant to us to see the private sector borrow at such very high levels. And so going forward, we have to find out ways to reduce the high non-performing loans ratios across banks.
Okay.
And for me, I'm particularly interested in the local banks, especially the government-owned banks. We'll be sitting down with them. We'll be sitting down with the industry association of banks. We started those conversations already. And we believe that if we are able to lower the NPL ratios of banks, if we are able to stabilize the fiscal side of things, we should see lending rates trending down, quickly. We are resolved to achieve that. But as I said, we'll be transparent.
Wonderful.
If we have
over the last 2 days, the government of Ghana and its partners, including the private sector, civil society organizations, traditional authorities and academia, convened for the National Economic Dialogue under the distinguished patronage of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama, and Her Excellency, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, from 3rd to 4th March 2025 at the Accra International Conference Center. Profoundly appreciate the presence and active participation of the high-level panel discussants, chairpersons, presenters of technical issue papers, as well as well-meaning Ghanaians from industry, academia, think tanks, and policymakers during the dialogue. Note and comment the spirited nature of the discussions that characterize the National Economic Dialogue and urge continued engagement to underpin constructive economic policy and implementation of our homegrown progressive and responsive policies in Ghana. To acknowledge that the Ghanaian economy is in crisis and continues to face multiple risks and vulnerabilities. We recognize that the macroeconomy remains fragile with significant risks from state-owned enterprises, particularly the energy and cocoa sectors that continue to undermine fiscal and debt sustainability. Additionally, we note the impact of long-standing structural deficiencies and challenging financial conditions that threaten macroeconomic stability. Consistent with the theme Resetting Ghana, Building the Economy We Want Together, we reiterate the conviction that Ghana can build resilience for economic growth and transformation for this and future generations by pursuing a path of increased dialogues and implementing targeted homegrown measures. Strongly support government's commitment to inclusive development and call for the timely, effective, and full implementation of the proposed interventions from this dialogue to enable Ghana revive and revitalize the economy. Underscore, based on the six thematic sessions as well as the plenary events at the National Economic Dialogue, the need for comprehensive and durable public sector reforms to improve productivity as well as increase private sector participation and investment in the economy. We, the participants, recognize that the comprehensive report of the National Economic Dialogue will be submitted to the Presidency for consideration and implementation, which to call on government to 1. Prioritize efforts to restore macroeconomic stability and regain confidence in the economy by enhancing coordination between fiscal and monetary policy operations and achieve alignment, reviewing the foreign exchange retention regime to support economic stability, implementing major tax reforms that expand the tax net, including property taxes, revise VAT rates, and address revenue leakages, overhauling and ensuring compliance with the Public Finance Management Act 2016 Act 921 and reform the Fiscal Responsibility Act 2018 982. Reforming state-owned enterprises and enforcing transparent financial reporting and good corporate governance practices. Strengthening expenditure controls in public agencies and resource internal audit regime to be effective, and establishing a credible medium-term expenditure framework that ensures adequate provision of funding for projects before commencement. 2. Aggressively pursue inclusive and sustainable growth for economic transformation. Accordingly, we encourage government to establish new agricultural institutes and enhance existing ones to foster expertise, drive innovation, and stimulate interest in industrialized agricultural production. Review and introduce a streamlined tax system for agricultural inputs and outputs to promote efficiency, reduce burdens, and support sector growth. Develop policies that proactively address skill gaps by aligning current and projected developmental priorities. 3. Promote private sector-led growth to unlock the full potential of businesses. We emphasize the need to 1. Structure and institutionalize a platform for sustained government-private sector engagements. 2. Enhance the applicant awareness and provide hands-on support to businesses to maximize trade opportunities. 3. Direct a portion of banks' cash reserve requirements toward credit creation and provide tailored financing. And 4. Fast-track company registration and licensing with strict adherence to service-level agreements to secure timely approvals. 4. Innovatively address the infrastructure deficit to advance transformation. Key among the efforts must be to A. Introduce a range of investable asset classes in infrastructure through the Ghana Stock Exchange and the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund. B. Revise pension fund investment regulations to align with infrastructure projects, ensuring sustainable development and long-term economic growth. C. Establish a performance management system for road construction and maintenance. And D. Ensure that the road fund is used exclusively for road maintenance and operational improvements. 5. Implement structural and policy reforms, especially in key sectors for growth. This must focus on A, ensuring the effective execution of the energy sector review policy to improve efficiency, sustainability, and service delivery in the sector. B, conducting a comprehensive review of ECG's operations and implement necessary reforms to position it for potential private sector involvement. C, strengthening ECG's billing and collection systems while enforcing cost-cutting measures to improve operational efficiency and service delivery. D, finalizing the review of IPP contracts and renegotiate terms to lower power purchase costs and enhance financial sustainability. D, eliminating illegal mining, i.e. galamsey, while resolving inefficiencies in the cocoa value chain to boost production and sustainability. E, returning Cocoa Board to its role as an agency under the Ministry of Finance, ensuring that it focuses on its core mandate of ensuring the efficiency of the sector and protecting the interests of farmers.
That's Dr. Ishmael Yamson there, and delivering the communique at the end of this two-day National Economic Dialogue. He's the chair of the National Economic Dialogue. And let's still stay a bit further on this dialogue, because organized labor is saying government should implement 60 to 70% of the recommendations for what you just heard right now from Dr. Ishmael Yamson. According to labor, it would also monitor that the recommendations do not increase taxes that could worsen the already precarious situation that's plaguing the Ghanaian worker. Let's stay a bit further on this and speak with Bernard Ejay, who is Secretary Public Services Workers Union, a part of the TUC and organized labor. Thank you, Mr. Ejay, for your time. I know you are still there, that the forum, and we're just ending in a bit. Now, did you get that commitment from government that one, they would implement this, at least 60 to 70% of the recommendations as you are demanding?
Well, thank you very much, my brother, and good evening to you and your listeners, and thank you for having me. Now, the way these conferences and dialogues work is not a negotiation environment, but having participated in previous programs such as this, what I can say is that there is always the commitment to implement possibly everything that has been agreed on. The experience we've had over the years is that our governments, successive governments, have not been able to see through to some of these wonderful policies. I've been participating since yesterday, and I can tell you, just as previous conferences and dialogues, the expertise, the technical skills that we have as a country, the human capital. My brother, you have no idea. Wonderful suggestions have been made, wonderful recommendations have been made. And I indicated earlier that our challenge has always been seeing through these wonderful policies. And I think that in the implementation, and that is where the recommendation, this is from me as General Secretary of Public Service Workers Union, having a preview of what has happened in the past, that if even we are able to implement about 60% of the kind of policies and recommendations that have come, it will take our country far. But for now, we are all hopeful that government would even accept these recommendations whole. There are a few of them that a little bit of more work needs to be done. Of course, at Labour, we were not in all the committees, but with the report that has come, there are some of the areas we think we should look at so that our interest as Labour also can be properly factored into it. Then we can be moving forward as a country.
Now, what you heard yesterday, and I was there yesterday and today as well, the Finance Minister was quite clear that almost all state-owned enterprises are in red, running at a loss. I mean, and you have some of your members working in these state-owned enterprise as public sector workers. Now, there's been recommendations that we should look at privatization or some public-private partnership to revive the fortunes of these SOEs. What's your take on this?
Well, we need to have an honest discussion as to what is behind this performance of the state-owned enterprises. And from where I see it, representing workers in the public sector, one of the major challenges we have is political interference. And both political parties have been there before. It is not something that has just happened in the last 4 years. Of course, in the last 8 years, it has worsened the situation. But this problem, we've had it for some time now. And both parties have been in government in periods when we have experienced it. So there are legacy issues and challenges facing the public sector. There are also political interference that happen after every day. Even how chief executives are appointed or heads of this institution, the board, how they are appointed. There are a lot of issues down there. I can assure you that the public sector workers are hardworking. They are ready to work. But of course, there's something missing somewhere. So in as much as I will partly agree with the numbers that the finance minister presented, I will say that there is more to it than just the figures or why they are not performing. And I think we need to look at that. The committee that worked on that thematic area have come up with a recommendation of it being put on the stock exchange, which will be more of still public ownership, but private citizens investing in this public company so that we can demand accountability, so that we don't have politicians appointing the head and the board and influencing them to take policy decisions or directions that do not inure to their good performance. So that is where it is what form. How do we want our public companies, especially those set up for commercial purposes, how do we want them to perform? How do we want them to function? Is it at the whims and caprices of politicians, or they should perform to meet the needs of citizens of Ghana? And I think that is where the discussion is. But I can assure you that they can still remain public as they are, but the politicians should take off their hands. We have institutions like SIGA, Public Service Commission, and other state institutions that have been mandated to make sure that these public sector organizations deliver on their mandate. And I can assure you, having worked with the public sector organization for the past 18 to 20 years, that if they are strengthened and given that leeway, they are going to perform. We have examples that we can cite. But be that as it may, once our politicians are involved and our constitution somehow gives certain powers to the executive for them to take certain political decisions, it is always a weak link. And another weak link is resources that they need to work with. I have witnessed public sector workers using their own salaries to even perform official duties. So I think a number of measures that have been discussed at this forum, if we all commit to it, I can assure you, workers, we are for performance and productivity. And we'll prove to Ghanaians that we deliver. And when we deliver, we should be appropriately remunerated for the work we are doing.
Mr. J, appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, my friend.
We'll definitely talk some more. That's the Secretary to the Public Services Workers Union, Menade J. Let's cross over back to the Accra International Conference Center. The Vice President, Professor Nana Jeno Pokwajiman, is delivering the closing address.
Has been addressing key drivers for national development. The dialogue has underscored the urgency of restoring confidence in our economy by maintaining macroeconomic stability, studying inflation, strengthening our currency, and creating fiscal policies to support long-term sustainable growth, and of course also to align our policies with fiscal discipline and sound economic management. We recognize that growth must be broad-based, it must be deep. It should cut both vertically and horizontally. We must move away from over-reliance on a few sectors in order to enhance our competitiveness at all levels. The importance of improving productivity, embracing technology, and prioritizing human well-being through inclusive economic growth cannot be lost on any one of us. Infrastructure development as a stimulant to economic growth is pivotal. Modernizing our transport, energy, and communication systems remain important to make sure that infrastructure investments also align with long-term development growth goals. The benefits of such actions are improved connectivity, reduced costs, and unlocking new opportunities for businesses and communities across the country. In all of this, we must ensure that the structural and policy reforms support a more resilient and competitive economy, especially in key areas or key sectors such as agriculture, education, healthcare, social welfare, and others. Our commitment is to continuously review and adapt our policies to meet the needs of a changing global economy. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, a private sector-led growth model is important. We need an enabling environment that allows businesses to thrive through improved access to finance, better infrastructure, or creating a more competitive business environment. We must strengthen the private sector as the engine of growth. This must go beyond just being mentioned too often. We need to act on that and ensure that it is capable of creating even more jobs and driving innovations. We must anchor these interventions on good governance and fighting corruption. Effective governance is essential for improving public sector efficiency, enhancing transparency, and strengthening institutions to eliminate corruption. The reset agenda is both ambitious and necessary. It requires a concerted effort from all of us. That is government, private sector, civil society, every Ghanaian citizen. And I want to assure you that the government of Ghana is fully committed to translating these resolutions into concrete action. I have noted all the homework you have given us. Our promise is to collaborate with all sectors and all sections of Ghana to ensure that we deliver a homework worthy of an A. We will work with stakeholders so that the action points are implemented effectively. This means ensuring that we take sustained action in the areas of fiscal reforms, private sector support, infrastructure development, and good governance. Furthermore, we need to track progress, remain transparent in our efforts, and definitely, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, accountability will be a central pillar in the implementation process. In the months and years to come, we promise to stay engaged with you to monitor our progress, ensure that we are delivering on the strategies proposed during this dialogue. We are confident that with sustained collaboration, determination, and collective action, we will build a more resilient, inclusive, and prosperous Ghana. Again, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, if on this important journey we reduce reliance on unhelpful direction, move towards a truly economically independent country, capable at the minimum of feeding itself, when we make judicious use of human and natural resources, reduce poverty as an objective, and aim at its elimination, when we ensure that decisions and actions reflect the voices of our different demographics in this forward march, we should be on a good path in making a lasting contribution to building the Ghana we all want together. I want to thank all of you for your attention, and I also want to thank especially the speakers, the rapporteurs, all of you for making the two-day dialogue effective. It is a dialogue, so it hasn't ended. We will continue. Thank you very much.
You are the Vice President there, Professor Nana Jenopo-Kwajuman, delivering the closing remarks at the National Economic Dialogue. It's a two-day economic dialogue which ends today, and we're going to go for this quick break. When we're back, Bismarck Osai is standing by with the latest in the world of business. Stay with us.
It's the battle of the teams in a 3FM 60-day Fit Start Challenge. Which team will come up tops? Will it be Team Comfort or Team Helen? Will age and tact act triumph? Or will youth and energy win? Call or WhatsApp on these numbers: 0532 300 927 or 0532 200 927. Now, to join Team Comfort or Team Helen and enjoy holistic wellness coaching, specialized diet plans, and cooking tutorials, thrilling exercises, challenges, and activities, plus many exciting rewards. 3FM Fit Start is sponsored by Daffy's Health and Beauty, Bill's Microfinance and UGL Premier, and supported by Blue Skies and the Ghana Medical Association. 3FM Fit Start, your health, your journey, your victory.
Accra gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3FM.
Hello, good evening. It's time now for the business segment on Hot Edition. Coming up tonight, Economist Intelligence Unit, EIU, urges Ghana to explore alternative funding as debt servicing costs remain high. I am Bismarck Osa. This story and others lined up for you. Do stay. Thanks for your company. Now to our very first story. The Economist Intelligence Unit, EIU, has advised Ghana to seek alternative financing solutions to reduce its heavy reliance on foreign loans. In its Africa Economic Outlook 2025, the EIU warned that while sovereign debt pressures are easing, external debt servicing remains a major challenge, making it critical for Ghana to improve domestic revenue collection and explore sustainable financing mechanisms. The following three Business News Desk report has more. The report notes that although the worst of Africa's sovereign debt pressures appear to be over, countries like Ghana must prioritize sustainable financing mechanisms to ensure macroeconomic stability. The EIU highlights opportunities in sectors such as renewable energy, ICT, and logistics, urging Ghana to position itself strategically to attract investment. However, it cautions that disruptive regional rivalries and lingering social challenges could threaten economic stability. Economic analysts argue that Ghana's infrastructure financing model should focus on long-term economic sustainability rather than short-term debt accumulation. They recommend leveraging pension funds, public-private partnerships, and policy reforms to support infrastructure growth. The EIU also notes that while attracting foreign direct investment has been difficult in recent years, interest in Africa is expected to rise in 2025. It urges Ghana to create an attractive investment climate to capitalize on this trend and reduce dependency on external borrowing. And that was a 3 Business News Desk report on Economist Intelligence Unit, EIU, advising Ghana to seek alternative financing solutions to reduce its heavy reliance on foreign loans. Moving on, a renowned finance expert, Professor Alfred Akrofi, has hailed the government's decreased dependency on treasury bills as a positive development for Ghana's economy. Interest rates are expected to decline steadily in the near term as yield uncertainty persists among investors. This is coming after the yield slumped to 20% due to high demand for treasury bills, forcing the treasury to reject some bids. Professor Akrofi was speaking to 3 Business on the size of the day 2 of the National Economic Dialogue.
Looking at our, if we have some excess cash flow in our treasury single account management and all of that, rather than just going to the market to accept every bid, they are looking at all of that. So to that extent, the impression that the market is getting is that government is not desperate to take the money. And that has caused the interest rate to drop down to almost 20%. So you can imagine if in the last 2 months or so, the nation has saved 1 billion cedis in interest costs. So the question is, so this should guide us in how we build and consolidate on this goodwill. So we do not take Ghanaians for granted. So a lot will be gleaned from the 2025 budget. I think if you look at oversubscription and all of that, once the budget is presented and there's clarity and all of that, that excess subscription, we should be looking at how we can turn that into medium to long term, okay, because there's confidence there. So once government signals that in the short end of the yield curve, there is no appetite, but there's appetite in the medium to the long term, the market will feed into that. The market will feed into that. I'm looking forward to it. Actually, my stake in all of this is that I have some savings, and I'm hoping that when government, when the medium to the long-term end of the yield curve is reopened, I will participate. We need to give Ghana a chance.
And that was renowned finance expert, Professor Alfred Akrofi. Before we go, Executive Director at the Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy, Benjamin Nsia, has commended the suspension of the Gold for Oil initiative, citing concerns over a lack of transparency in the program. Benjamin Nsia's endorsement of the suspension highlights the need for greater transparency and accountability in Ghana's energy sector.
The Gold for Oil policy was shrouded in a lot of mystery. It was not transparent. In terms of how much gold was purchased locally and how much gold was exported for trading, and as well as the amount sold on the international market to be able to buy fuel for import. So there was a lot of mystery and lack of transparency with respect to this particular program. And for that matter, we commend the Central Bank for listening to us, especially the CSOs, and then cancelling or suspending this particular deal till further notice. We hope that some of the objections raised will be addressed. And these objections are: 1, the amount of gold being purchased locally, the amount in terms of cedis used in purchasing these golds, the gold sold, the trader who buys our gold and sells it on the international market, and the amount being used to import petroleum products through bust to our local market. These are things that we've raised over the years, and we think that after suspension and review, these concerns must be addressed.
And that was Executive Director at the Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy, Benjamin Nsia, ending the business segment on Hot Edition with me, Bismarck Ausa. For more business stories, please log on to 3news.com. Thanks for your company.
It's the battle of the teams in a 3FM 60-day Fit Start Challenge. Which team will come up tops? Will it be Team Comfort or Team Helen? Will age and tact act triumph? Or will youth and energy win? Call or WhatsApp on these numbers: 0532 300 927 or 0532 200 927. Now, to join Team Comfort or Team Helen and enjoy holistic wellness coaching, specialized diet plans, and cooking tutorials, thrilling exercises, challenges, and activities, plus many exciting rewards. 3FM Fit Start is sponsored by Daffy's Health and Beauty, Bill's Microfinance and Usual Premier, and supported by Blue Skies and the Ghana Medical Association. 3FM Fit Start, your health, your journey, your victory.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 FM. Let's start off with the Ghana Premier League, because with just days to resumption of the league, clubs are ramping up preparations to return to the pitch while ensuring compliance with all safety protocols set by the Ghana Football Association. According to the GFA General Secretary Prosper Harrison-Addo, one key protocol that is frequently overlooked, causing chaos before matches, is the arrival of teams. He revealed all 18 Premier League clubs have now reached an agreement on standardized arrival procedures for match days.
Shouldn't be any supporter there. The arrival team will call the police before they get there. And if you don't call, there's a punishment for it. So you call and tell the police you are leaving your hotel and you are arriving, because we've agreed already at the Tinker meeting, the match coordination meeting, that you should arrive, let's say 1:30. So by 1:15, if let's say your hotel is 10 minutes away, you call, the police will escort you. Or if you are coming alone, they know they are waiting for you at the arrival. So we don't need any support. The police will do that work. And the team coming to is not supposed to put anybody apart from the accredited persons who are wearing the accreditation. And accreditation is being done by the FA. And the team is not supposed to touch that accreditation. If you do additional one, we will see. And there's a huge punishment for it. And these are punishment the clubs themselves have done. And when we say minimum 50, it doesn't mean it's 50. It means it starts from 50. It can be more. So once you come and the arrival is cordial, say if the players go to their dressing room area, no supporter is supposed to be there. No management member is supposed to go to the dressing room.
So that was the General Secretary of the Ghana Football Association, Prosper Harrison-Addo. But still on the Ghana Premier League, former Nsoatreman head coach Yao Perko believes the relentless desire of home teams to win at all costs in the league is a key driver of hooliganism. Having managed the club just months ago, Perko insists the teams must shift their mindset and accept that winning at home is not always guaranteed.
If they get to understand that you lose, you win, or you draw, and then everybody goes home and then prepare for the next match. You know, for me personally, I think home must win is the cause of everything. And we think when you're playing home, you have to win at all costs. You have to win at all costs, and then the influence of the referees and it gets the supporters so it gets on their nerves. And some decisions doesn't go on their way, especially when you're playing home. You think everything should go for you.
So that was Yao Perko. Let's move to the Black Stars and specifically the World Cup qualifiers, as the new technical advisor and director for the team, Winfred Schaefer, shares his thoughts ahead of Ghana's upcoming clashes against Chad and Madagascar later this month. Schaefer, appointed as part of the team's technical restructuring last month, has fully embraced his new role and is ready for the challenge ahead.
I hope for the first team, what we want is everybody has to bring in his head, we have to go to the World Cup 26. That is, when we work all together, I think it's possible. My experience is very important. Yeah? That is in football, I don't have to go in the laptop and watch what this is. It's normal. I want to help Otto Otto, we talk. I'm not the head coach. Otto is the head coach, and maybe I see one thing we can make better. Then we talk together. I'm not the man who tell, oh, Otto not good. No, we have to talk. We have like a team.
And so Ghana will be facing Chad and Madagascar much later this month. However, speaking of events happening tonight, the Champions League round of 16 action, the early kickoff between Club Brugge and Aston Villa is currently 1-1 with just about 3 minutes left to half time. However, all eyes would be in Spain, where a thrilling showdown between Real Madrid and city rivals Atletico Madrid will take place. Real Madrid manager Carlo Ancelotti insists that despite Atletico's defensive approach, his side will have to stick to their attacking style of play.
It doesn't change a lot. Of course, we have to take in consideration the characteristic of the team, the opponent team. Atletico is more vertical. Maybe you can use more than City the counter-attack. City has a game with less possession from our side, and so we have to take in consideration this. But we don't have to change our style, our mentality, and our approach to the game.
Well, with a packed schedule of matches to be played today and then tomorrow when it comes to the Champions League round of 16, London-based journalist Aaron Sikaya provides a full breakdown of these games.
The Champions League round of 16 is upon us, and of course everyone is looking forward to that. Starting with an early fixture on Tuesday where Club Brugge will host Aston Villa. The English side will look to advance forward to the quarterfinals, but they will be met with a very, very tough Brugge side who they've met before in the league phase, and unfortunately they went down 1-0 and ended up losing that game as well. So Aston Villa have a bit of making up to do to the fans. Looking at the other fixtures of that day, Dortmund will host Lille at home. Arsenal have a tough away fixture against PSV Eindhoven, and the big one, of course, is going to be Real Madrid up against Atletico Madrid, starting with the tie being at the Bernabeu, and everyone is looking forward to that game. How will Real Madrid face this very stubborn, very organised and very disciplined Atleti side? We have a few fixtures on Wednesday as well. Feyenoord will be hosting Inter Milan, and they will be looking to bring down another Italian giant after beating AC Milan in the qualifying rounds leading up to the round of 16. Bayern Munich are at home against Leverkusen in an all-German clash in the round of 16. Bayern Munich will have the difficult task to go past Xabi Alonso and his men to qualify for the quarterfinals. Benfica host Barcelona at home after an absolutely thrilling 4-5 game at the Estadio da Luz. Last but not least, we have the big one on Wednesday. Liverpool go away to PSG. PSG, who are a great side, who have been on excellent form. Goal-scoring form, especially for the forwards. So Dembele and Co will look to hurt Liverpool's defence, who have done so well.
And that's how we wrap up the sports segment here on Hot Edition. You can follow all of these games on our social media handles at 3SportsGH. My name is Ore Kwampofu.
More news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. On behalf of the team, we are